Whoa.
Howdy.
Hey, let's start the show.
Let's just fucking jump into it.
So, sorry about yesterday.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we were gonna do something.
Your boy was put on a new sleeping medication and he overdid it. And so I was in a zombie-like haze for all of yesterday.
Yeah, that was
and
unexpected.
For a good podcast, that does not make.
No, absolutely not. No, yeah, we were going to do yesterday, and I literally said on Wednesday, yeah, we're going to do Wednesdays and Fridays from now on.
I know.
And we did not.
Boy,
oh my God, Dab is here. Dab, we haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, she wants you to do another
Hello,
Animal Crossing stream. I think she doesn't
Greg,
like our...
Gio.
She doesn't like our
Neon
Animal Crossing
Oni.
content.
Hello.
Or she doesn't like our political content, I think.
Oh, she doesn't?
No.
Sorry, Dab. It just like it gets that way because that's how we just snowballed into that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, I think it was inevitable based on what my interests are.
Right,
in my
exactly.
sports.
Where your brain is.
Yeah. So, I'm sure a lot of you saw it. I didn't pull it up, but it's a clip of that female soccer player woman with Jill Biden. And
yes, that's
look, I dyed
right.
my hair for gender equality.
Yeah, pay equity or
Pay
whatever
equity.
the fuck.
And then today we get...
All right. This is a tweet breaking. U.S. women's soccer team players claims of unequal pay dismissed by judge. Claim of unequal travel. Medical staff can go to trial. Story upcoming.
Yeah, and because we knew that. We
Yeah.
been new.
Yeah,
Obviously.
we done been new already. She already had hers is. So, do you mind?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. So we're expecting this to happen.
Yeah.
Of course. But like I said to you, and my take on this is like, so Megan Rapinoe makes $170,000 a year, US dollars. I think it's like 138,000 euro or pound or whatever the fuck. Pound, excuse me. A year, which is a pretty hefty paycheck.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great amount of money.
Yeah, now I understand like why she would be upset that she's not making the same amount of money as a male soccer player, but when you boil them down to when you separate who they are from what they do, really what they do is they entertain. They're entertainers.
Right.
More audience members are watching the entertainment from male soccer players than they are female.
Right.
So obviously the amount of money that you're getting from people watching male soccer, from the audience of people watching male soccer entertainment, there's a lot more money coming from them, coming into that than female soccer.
Male soccer is a musician filling a stadium, and women's soccer is filling a small club or a theater.
Those are just the numbers.
Just the fact.
Just the numbers. And so like at the very base of who they are entertainers. Yes, they're good at a sport, but it's a game that people are watching. It's entertainment. Or not watching.
I mean, basically,
exactly.
the WNBA is basically subsidized by the NBA because nobody fucking watches
Yeah.
it. And good. I mean, I'm glad that, but how often do you hear from little girls that are like, I want to be in the WNBA. I look up to, I can't even name one WNBA player.
Megan Rapinoe.
Yeah, Megan Rapinoe.
She's the only one because
she's the great white hope.
She exactly. Isn't she a lesbian too?
I mean, yeah.
She's part of our community.
She's
somewhere
a dyke in some way.
But like, yeah, she's the only one you can name because she's the only one who puts up a stink about this.
Right.
She's the only one who puts up a stink about $168,000 a year. You know. Whereas I would live way outside of my means if I was making $168,000 a year.
Yeah.
I would splurge at every chance I got.
Just
That's a fuck ton of money.
Buy one low-end Ferrari.
One exactly. One low-end Ferrari and then default on my mortgage payment.
That's what I'm saying is like during this coronavirus, just buy a Ferrari on credit and just default on it.
Oh, you said the WNBA. Sorry, I didn't even realize that's what you said, WNBA, before, and I said Megan Rapinoe.
It's still funny.
Because I'm a soccer player,
I'm picturing
not a
thick-thighed Megan playing with a bunch of these giant women, just getting her
these beautiful glamazon women.
So what I want to focus a lot of today's episode about is governors having fights with mayors of cities, and then whether or not we should be opening things back up.
Sure, yeah.
But one of my favorite ways to start this is that Bill de Blasio put out the most misguided tweet in existence.
Oh boy. So Bill de Blasio says, and this is a few days ago during that whole like around when we podcasted, actually, on Wednesday. He says, my message to the Jewish community and all communities is this simple. The time for warnings has passed. I have instructed the NYPD to proceed immediately to summons or even arrest those who gather in large groups. This is about stopping this disease and saving lives, period.
And what's so funny about that, too, is it's one of those things where it's like that you just can't say things like that because it's always anti-Semitic. Like,
always.
They're like,
don't say that.
Not since Kristallnacht have I ever felt so horrible.
Right, when I was personally alive.
Yes, I feel I feel in such danger as a Jewish person.
Oh my God.
And of course they're after it right now, and it's one of those things of like, and then they put the side-by-side tweet of him saying, "Oh, happy Ramadan," and then it's just but the reality is like you just can't stop it. There's nothing you can do to stop it. It's just they're gonna do what they're gonna do, and the more you try to, it's gonna look one-sided, even though they're the ones who are misbehaving, these Orthodox Jews. But there's nothing that you can really do to stop it without getting your reputation. Like, because the anti-Semitism smear is used like it's like cream cheese. It's like spread so broad and wide. It's just.
Really, when I use cream cheese, I just pack it all.
That's what I'm saying.
Like I fucking stack.
I mean, it's a thick inch of anti-Semitism spread
very, very far
throughout New York.
Right. I use a whole tub of cream cheese.
I want to get something that Dab said. Dab says, "Do you ever get scared that while you're in a stream, you slip up and say something that ruins your reputation?" I think the one thing that we cannot say is the N-word, which we've managed not to do. Right. But it depends on how specific you want to get it, because I've probably said 1,000 things that will ruin my reputation on this.
But that's the point. Like the more we say, the more we dilute the solution with water.
Right.
So like we've said so much that like if perhaps something gets us canceled, we'll laugh at it because we've said so much other shit that should have ended our lives, that somebody should have killed us over, you know?
It's also the experiment that I want to run, is like if someone did want to write some sort of think piece, you just go, they go apologize. You go, no, I'm not going to do that. Yeah. And then you just laugh at it. And then it just goes away. It's like you really only let them win if you capitulate to their demands. And so, no, it's just like, nope.
Yeah, it's not really a worry of ours.
Nianoni says, a man whose real name is Warren Wilhelm is scaring Jews. I'm shocked. Oy vey, oy gewalt.
Oh no.
I feel really bad for like secular Jews who just are kind of embarrassed by the sort of more old school traditional practices of really observant Jews, because like so many of my friends are Jewish who are just not
by practice.
No, just basically by name.
Yeah, I know.
That's about it. And so I bet that they're just like, oh my God.
I mean, yeah, I talked about it on Wednesday. The Jewish friends that I follow on Twitter, my Jewish friends that I do follow on Twitter, are tweeted about like the Hasidic Jews who are gathering in large groups still, and it's like, God, we don't claim them. Sorry.
Well, the funniest part is that tweet was because of them. A bunch of Orthodox Jews gathered for a funeral of a rabbi who died of coronavirus.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that is right. Oh my God.
Okay, so let me get back. So Jacob says at least 31 states will partially reopen within days. It's time. Nobody is staying in anymore. Everything is packed. Just open stuff back up. Let the GOP go back to work, and the Dems can stay inside. Yeah, I mean, we're on the cusp of a serious financial collapse, and so whether or not we see that could breed some sort of positivity, I'm not really as hopeful as I was when I was first kind of like talking about this on a few of these, just because we've already seen the amount of corporate rat fucking they're already doing. And I think Bezos made $35 billion during all this.
Yeah, that's right. He did make a fuck ton of money. Their stock went up like 25% in one day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm still a little hopeful, and I kind of welcome the collapse because it's not an economy I was ever really a part of.
No, we were very much slaves to it, opposed to being participants.
Yeah. Exactly. That's exactly what I mean. It's like I was never a participant. I was an unwilling captive to the system that we had. So if it does collapse, which it already kind of has, and I don't even think opening things back up will return it back to what it was. Not even close.
Like I've said, we were fucked as an economy in the first 2 weeks.
Yeah. I really want to know like what our real GDP is going to look like at the end of this year compared to the year before.
It's bad. And then I was reading something today that was talking about Warren Buffett has this projection engine for stock markets, and he's usually pretty optimistic. And his thing, there's two things. So there's that one. Warren Buffett's thing was like, we're fucked. And then Apple, normally their stock goes up or down based on what Tim Cook says in terms of like what their sales have been and everything else.
Yeah, based on what Tim Pool says.
Exactly what Tim Pool says, exactly. Who I don't know if you guys know, but he's half Korean.
No fucking way. He's a person of color.
And he skateboards, and he's over 30, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But I've just dunked on him so much, I'm almost starting to feel bad, even though he's so much bigger than us. I got to do an aside. So he was on Rogan. I listened to the whole thing. I listened to Tim Pool on Rogan in its entirety. And then Rogan was trying to be like, he was like, I work really, really hard. I work every day. And Joe Rogan's like, what, 3 hours? You work for.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I'm actually doing planning for 3 hours a day before that. And Joe's like, okay.
All right.
Sure you are. And it's just like, basically Joe was trying to say, like, stop saying you work hard.
Yeah.
You have an amazing job and position to be able to do what you're doing. You read articles at a rapid fire pace. That is your gift, and he is very good at that. It's almost like his mouth can't keep up with how fast he's saying things, which is something I can relate to. But still, he's
interesting. That's news to me.
Yes, it is news to you.
Sorry, you were saying Tim Cook dictates the
stock price. So
yes.
like basically, if he says that we are going to we've sold it. The biggest two products that Apple are selling right now are AirPods and watches. Those are the two biggest items they've been selling.
Huh.
And the reason why they're kind of fucked right now is because they are largely like their iCloud integration was not really useful unless you were an Apple user. Like it never functioned like Dropbox until recently. Like recently, they've finally allowed it to have the functionality that Dropbox has. And so they're not really a software company. I mean, they are simply a product company. And so obviously product sales are going to be down during all this and then for the foreseeable future. So they usually ask him to give predictions of does it look or rather just state the fact, which is were your sales down or up during this quarter or whatever. And he goes, I'm not interested in giving any predictions. The first time he's ever said that. He's like, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know. And basically what this is gets his shareholders to panic or not. And so their stock dropped like $7, which is a lot for them. So that's like kind of another just sort of harbinger of things to come from the corporate world, which unfortunately reflects directly on us as the consuming populace.
Yeah.
Okay. Neon says the post-collapse economy will not be better, though. No, it won't. It'll almost certainly be much, much worse for everybody but the rich. Exactly, because we're all going to just end up working for Amazon, which is my point about saying how much money Daddy Bezos made in like 7 days. Wait a second. You listen to Tim Pool for 3 hours and still need to take sleeping medication. Yeah, I think that's probably why. Well, I don't know. Maybe I got some energy through osmosis by listening to him that much. Timosis.
Nice, dude.
Thanks, man.
Timosis.
Yeah, Elon Musk, Tesla stock down 10.3 on Friday via CNBC, and it's almost like he wanted it to happen because he just went on Twitter and said a bunch of dumb shit. And then not dumb shit. I mean, it's true, but it's just shit that a CEO shouldn't be saying.
Right.
And he changed his icon to be the Deus Ex logo from the video game, which the video game is like totally what we're in right now. I don't know if did you ever play the original one?
I didn't. No.
It's pretty spot on for what the premise of the game essentially is that all conspiracies are real. So, but there's very like mentions of the CIA plan, like all these things that like are very obvious to us now, but it's kind of foretold the future. But yeah, so here we're going to speak kind of strictly to California because it's where we live, and so here's this article.
California governor says he's days away from lifting some stay-at-home restrictions.
So let's get some specifics. So that's why I'm going to make you read it.
Yeah. Let's see. Days, not weeks away from beginning to lift some restrictions in the state's stay-at-home order, says Gavin Newsom. Some areas to be affected in this first wave of reopening include retail and hospitality, including restaurants, Newsom said. All will have serious modifications, and experts are looking at each industry and developing guidelines to begin to return to normal.
So what are those serious modifications? That's what I've been talking about. I'm like, because like one of my jobs on the weekends, I had DJ residencies. I'm like, there is no way they're going to justify having somebody like me to fill these spaces to capacity anymore.
Yeah, no way.
Because they're not going to allow it, which is basically what he's saying.
Yeah,
and so we knew that
it's going to be
coming.
like half, He says, I just want folks to know that that we are getting very close to making really meaningful augmentations to that stay-at-home order. California has had one of the strictest stay-at-home orders in the country in order to fight the spread of coronavirus, and Newsom has been one of the most watched governors in the country as he has made the case for a cautious and deliberate reopening of the state's economy. California is the country's most populous state and is home to about 40 million people. Earlier this week, Newsom announced a phased plan to reopen the state. Newsom said on Tuesday that stage 1 is where the state is now, staying home and working on flattening the curve. The second stage involves lifting restrictions on some lower-risk workplaces, retail, manufacturing, and offices where telework is not possible. Reopening childcare centers will be a part of that second stage as well, Newsom said. Next is stage 3, months, not weeks away, Newsom said at the time. The stage will encompass personal care businesses like gyms, spas, salons, sports without live audiences, in-person religious services, and other businesses where workers come in close contact with customers.
And this bit, the in-person religious services, that's where we're going to see a ton of conflict.
Why do you think that is?
Because they're gonna turn it into a freedom to practice religion argument. It's gonna happen. And so and talk about the noisiest crowd in America. It's the religious people. So that one is going to be huge and a serious problem.
I mean, don't you think that opening that back up would make them happy, or?
Well, I mean, but I think not waiting months to do that. They're going to be really unhappy about that. I think that they're going to be some of the people on the front line protesting. And there's a protest going on in Laguna Beach right now.
I know, I saw.
Yeah, we'll get into that this bit. And then
the final phase, stage 4, will see the end of the stay-at-home order with the reopening of the highest risk parts of our economy being reopened. Newsom said on Twitter. That includes concerts, convention centers, and sports with live crowds. He added that stage would only come once therapeutics have been developed.
So that's
a vaccine, yeah.
And so this last bit actually is relevant to what we
Newsom also made clear he understands the difference in needs between rural and urban areas. That's interesting. The state's Modoc County looked to defy the governor on Friday by reopening businesses, schools, and churches in defiance of his stay-at-home order. And Newsom has been under pressure from rural Californians to allow their areas to reopen independently of more densely populated areas of the state.
So, I mean, that's the thing that I'm talking about. Because So we've praised him. He's done some good things, but the closing the beaches is fucking weird.
Yeah.
And demanding that cities can't dictate whether or not they have them open or closed.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Newport Beach was saying that we don't mind them being open. And the reality is the problem is that when you have certain cities closing them and other ones leaving them open, we have massive things of beaches. Here, let me pull this up really quickly.
Yeah, of course.
So this is a helicopter pilot from the LAPD. It says, went along beach on beach checks. And this guy's with a megaphone. I don't know if there's going to be any sound. But you can just see how massive our God. He's over Santa Monica right now. But you can just see it's massive.
Right.
So the thing is that when you only open certain ones and then you leave other ones closed, then people can't disperse into larger groups.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't really get what the purpose of this is. It is the safest place for people to be when you think about it. It's you have the ability to distance. You have oceans. You're constantly in and out of the water. And we pay such fucking crazy amounts in taxes to live here. Mm-hmm. And so it is getting fucking ridiculous. It really is, because it's one of those things of okay, do you want us to kill ourselves? Because you got to give us some avenue to go do something that's outside or something active or something semi-communal, because I mean, I'm personally fine with it, but I'm a weird fucking eccentric that doesn't mind being alone all the time. But people are starting to fucking lose it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's weird because several mayors were fine with the beaches being open, and then he put the kibosh on May 1st when he's talking about opening things up on May 15th. So I'm what are you doing anymore? What I'm starting to see is from him and Cuomo in particular, because they're the two that are in the spotlight, is they're loving the power they have right now.
Of course.
And it's getting gross.
And look, the CDC, and I got this from a podcast that you sent me today. It's Dr. Drew talking about it. But the CDC has found almost zero evidence of any outdoor transmission.
Right.
So if you are walking on the streets and, there's no coronavirus drifting through the air coming at you. You don't need to wear a mask if you're going on a walk. You don't need to
people still do. It's so weird.
It's enclosed spaces and being within 6 feet of somebody and talking to them and not wearing a mask. That is the most at-risk position you can be in. If you're wearing a mask, it's a little bit less, but if you're outside and you're 6 feet apart from somebody, you don't need to wear a mask if you pass by them. It's just stay 6 feet apart, and there's almost zero likelihood of outdoor transmission. It's really indoors that there's the higher risk.
Right.
So being at the beach and staying 6 feet apart from everybody, which is hard to do, like you said, because most beaches are closed, and so we all flock to one. Staying 6 feet apart from somebody but being outside, there's very, very, very low risk, and that's what the CDC is saying. It's
well, and then also too, like we're not seeing the mortality rate that we expected with this.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's a really tricky, weird virus, and we still don't really know. I think they're going to come to a conclusion that certain types of people, beyond being just obese or having diabetes, but a certain type of person is particularly susceptible to this. We just haven't quite figured it out yet. But the numbers of infected based on who's actually dying is just not reflective of the amount of restriction we still have. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. And so I feel like, if we open things back up, but we require people to wear masks or do whatever, and like masks if they're going to be close distance to people. That's the other thing, is like the mask plus the 6 feet of distance. I don't really understand that. It seems like it should be one or the other. But I don't know. It's getting to the point to where it's like, if this was proper pandemic numbers, like where the numbers were, if the infected rate was comparable even to the death rate, I would be like, okay, we should still be doing what we're doing. But we're getting to a point to where everything is just financially getting worse and worse and worse for everybody else. And then the only way to mitigate the damage is to keep pumping government money out to everybody else, money that we don't have. We're $24 trillion in debt. So it's like, which is a number I can't even wrap my head around. And so what are we going to do? I mean, and then, so what you're going to create is people are getting government money still and are still protesting. So imagine when that government money stops, it's going to get fucking violent. And so I don't really know what they're doing anymore, other than I think that Newsom and Meatball Cuomo are trying to look how presidential I am. Look how, like, and again, I think that what we'll find after the dust kind of settles on this is this was not really worth, the response was not proportionate to what it actually cost. I could be wrong. I'm not saying I'm right, but it's like what I'm seeing right now, it doesn't seem to line up at all.
The take that I mentioned a long time ago on this podcast, when this all started to happen, and I agree with you, but the thing is, like, if we can, and it all of it, like, hinges on intention. But if we are overreacting, it's better to do that
than underreact. Yeah,
than underreact. So that's still kind of where I stand, but of course it takes the good intention of somebody like making the sauce Cuomo and sorry, not making the sauce, the other Cuomo.
They're both
making sauce.
Yeah, they're both dipped in ground meat and tomato sauce. Those two meatball brothers.
Not making the sauce Cuomo, but exactly
the one who called his brother a pussy for making sauce with his mother. Yeah.
But like Newsom and Cuomo, them maybe not having, like, I think Newsom has good intentions, but Cuomo, I think, is just like a dumbbell, And so, like, we need to make sure that these people are, or rather, like, it's better to say, like, let's overreact a little bit if you're good of heart, if your intention is to protect people and not to prolong your power, like it seems like some of these people are doing, and some of these people who are heads of governments doing. So I don't know. I still stand by that, but there's that sort of.
It just feels like there should be some dates of a contingency plan. I feel like at this point we kind of seem, through models, we seem to understand what the spread is, what it looks like, and then, but we still don't have any dates on when things are actually going to open. It's like, well, I guess we'll wait and see, which is starting to feel really suspicious to me personally. Yeah. It's just kind of like, we now know. We have a fuck ton of data now. So what's the plan? And so, and I think I care more because it's like, I need to know what my future is going to look like. I can't, I was patient for a while of just kind of accepting that everything's going to be fucked. But I want to know how fucked I actually am. And the longer this goes on, the more of a question mark it is, and the more fucked I know that I am. So I don't know. And I'm somebody who doesn't really feel the need to go protest or anything. So I can only imagine people that are kind of simpler are going to end up freaking out here shortly.
Yeah. I think Red Mage made a point about the debt.
I don't agree with it at all. So I
mean,
ignoring
but before on this podcast, we said, like, what do these numbers even matter?
They
it's
don't,
like we owe this money to China, I guess, and it's like,
and well, a ton of it is with China, but at the same time, it's like we added another $4 trillion onto it with this. Well, another $2 trillion. and we're going to have to keep adding to it. But at the same time, it's like it does change the amount that we spend on other things. It's like, of course, they're going to just end up pumping it into military stuff and what they always do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like it's comforting to think the number is small. And then, then this is a circular argument in which you could say, well, the economy's never been functioning, so I don't want to go down that fucking road.
It's not worth it.
It's boring.
Yeah.
And so the reality is that number is so fucking enormous and not reflective of our GDP at all. And so that's why it scares the shit out of me, is because like we were already teetering on collapse so closely that now we are fully forcing ourselves into some kind of collapse, which is hard to not think that there's some sort of plan to restructure society entirely.
Yeah, like we talked about on that pretty bleak episode.
Yes.
I think, dude, the more days pass, the more I feel that we're heading in that direction. And it's like, we won't have any choice to say no to it. That we'll all end up, we're close enough to a city where it would just encapsulate us. They would put a dome over fucking Los Angeles County, greater Los Angeles, and we would be stuck in it. I mean, there's no escaping. If that does happen, there's no escaping it, I mean, then you won't be able to interact. If you were outside of it, you won't be able to interact with that part of society. You'd have to, like to work there, you have to live there and stuff like that. So, and
I think that these kinds of things will happen so slowly that we won't really notice they're a problem. I mean, in the first one they would introduce that was we talked about on that Wednesday episode about the kind of techno tyranny thing, is I think cashless society is a kind of reasonable step. I really don't have much of a problem with that. I'm already pretty much operating my life in that way, and if Apple Pay was more widely accepted, I would use it all the time.
Yeah, of course.
But then I'm curious, if cashless means no wallet, so it's in is your ID gonna then be placed into your phone, and then that's now integrated into your phone, or will we sign away rights for the government entities to at least admit they're looking at our bank accounts, which they are, and so it's one of those things of it's just gonna keep snowballing into less and less personal autonomy based on systems are going to try to integrate into our society that seem convenient.
Yeah.
And so we'll be fooled by it, but then we'll look back, 10 or so years later, and hopefully we'll have the singularity at that point, and we'll become machines, but
right. We won't know the difference, Yeah, I don't know.
Dab says everyone is mad at Trump because he falsely announced that there was a cure. He never did that. He just said that he was talking about the hydroxychloroquine thing, and you look at certain studies and it's effective, others say it's not, so who the fuck knows?
Who knows? And he's not a scientist. His word can't be trusted.
And that's the amazing thing about it is why are people treating him as if he's some kind of sage with wisdom? It's no. He's a WWE heel. He's funny and ridiculous.
But people still view him as Daddy God to tell them what they need to hear.
But Daddy God Emperor are the people who he could literally take a turd on their desk and they'd still like him.
Of course.
There's no convincing those people. So the uninitiated are gonna hate everything he says. Right. But then all of a sudden he's supposed to be some kind of fucking expert when they've been calling him an orange moron for the last 3.5 years, which makes no fucking sense to me at all.
Yeah, dude.
All right, do you mind reading Jacob's numbers here?
Yeah, sure. We've got global 3.5 million total cases, 2.1 million active cases, 1.1 million recovered, 50,000 serious, 250,000 dead. In the U.S., we have 1.2 million total cases, 900,000 active cases, 160,000 recovered, and about 70,000 dead. Yeah, I mean, that doesn't look too different from from the other day when you were here.
Greg says global has slowed down a lot. It has.
Yeah, it looks that way, which is good to hear. Although Russia is not doing too well. They reported their highest increase in one day, I think yesterday or the day before.
Neononi says the virus is the cosmos way of preventing the singularity. I would think it's going to accelerate it, but
I think it gives the government an opportunity to create or fuel the singularity.
I don't know. I kind of welcome the singularity, to be honest.
I'd like to be a machine and not have to worry about depression, or any kind of mortal quarrels.
I mean, we're probably closer to that than we think. I want to start watching that show with you that I watched, Devs, the one.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
It's okay. It sucks, dude. The show is so good. It's the guy, Alex Garland did it. He did Ex Machina, Annihilation. He wrote 28 Days Later, and The Beach. So always kind of a problems created by tech kind of writer is sort of his stance. But he directed it, wrote it, and did everything, and it's shot beautifully. The set design is gorgeous. The story is really interesting and compelling, but the acting and the casting is so weird and misguided. And then some of the writing, like, it's weird because when he's writing about tech and kind of how people deal with it, he's such a good writer. When he's writing interpersonal relationship drama, it's like a teen romance novel. It's weird. It's like, it's striking that the two are so incredibly different in the show.
It's called Devs.
Devs, yeah, Devs. It's on Hulu. It's very it's worth it. It's definitely worth it. Just the lead actress, I do not know. I know why he cast her because she was the Asian girl in Ex Machina.
That's right.
I don't want to spoil that, but yeah. So it's her, but she didn't speak in that movie. This she does, and you're like, maybe you shouldn't have. But the biggest thing about it that makes me crazy is that her storyline doesn't need to exist at all.
Right.
It doesn't need to be there. Like, they literally could have cut off 2 episodes. I'm just gonna talk about a thing that no one's seen, but but yeah, it's just disappointing that they did that to it. So a lot of the stuff that has people that are protesting whatever has now. We had it with de Blasio with his dick pics, like tattletale culture. So this was pretty interesting to me.
Yeah. Personal information from 900 plus St. Louisan tipsters exposed on social media. Documents with the names of people who reported stay-at-home violations are being shared online. One tipster said she won't count on the county's help again. Oh, fuck. A spree of social media posts this week warned that St. Louis County released the information it got from people who reported businesses in violation of the stay-at-home order. The document, released in response to a Sunshine Law request, included names and contact information of the people making the reports. In their messages, some asked for anonymity. Posts and comments in response to the document invited retaliation against the people who utilized the county's inbox for tips about non-essential businesses that stayed open. Fucking hell. The I-Team's PJ Rondawa talked with a woman whose tip was among those released. Patricia asked that we not use her last name because she fears what someone might do with the information in the document. We're in a society where we're doing what's right, where doing what's right doesn't always get rewarded.
Did you just say that we're in a society?
Bro, we live in a society. Get a load of this society, bro. Patricia has lupus. 2 other people in her house have autoimmune issues. We have to be extra careful because we don't have the strength to fight this. I saw a lot of businesses that were non-essential that were open and had lines outside, parking lots filled as if the order didn't matter to them, and that was kind of frustrating.
So here's the deal. So she has lupus, right?
Yeah.
Jacob has an autoimmune disease. You guys are the ones that need to stay inside. Like, I probably should too, like, not overexpose myself. But people are going to do what they do. And so you have 2 options here. Either we get the police to do really jackbooty shit, which is totally out of their constitutional purview to do, which you don't want, because once you give them that power, they're not giving it back. Or you just let people that you view as being stupid do their thing, which, whether they're stupid or not, I don't really have an objective answer to that. But at the same time, you don't want the alternative, which is like citizen policing.
And then, but also, if you try to police, you'll get punished.
Right.
It's like there's no incentive to turn somebody in. You don't get anything out of it. You probably make the world's tiniest fucking dent in the amount of time it's going to take for this whole thing to blow over.
Right.
So just, I mean, you don't have to turn people in. If you can just let them be stupid and get sick if they do, it's like, yes, it might prolong it by like a day, but you know, we have no prediction of how long this will take, and turning somebody in there's almost zero impact on that time frame.
Can you read Jacob's second to last comment, and then it's going to transition us into the next part, because there's only so much to say about this virus, so I think we're done on that.
Jacob says, I can't remember if you guys talked about Joe Biden last stream. These Democrats are making fools of themselves with this believe all women thing. They only believe all women when it's against a Republican.
Right. So here's the new Trump ad, which I figured we should play for you.
Right, yeah. I don't know what song this is. Do you think this will be?
Being president is a serious job. It's not hosting a talk show.
Jeez.
Will never be president.
That final image is like him. So they're already attacking it because again, and I think they're. It's so funny because the only defense that people have against this Tara Reid allegation is, what about Trump's sexual? And it's like, guys, like, it's not the point. Like,
yeah, he's already in.
He's already in. So
what? Like, we can't do anything about that, you know? And honestly, like, if anybody's just listening, that was just a montage of, like, Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton calling him racist or, like, irresponsible, whatever. But look, like, yeah, the point is not that Trump's a rapist, like, or rather that Trump is the worst, the way worse or rapist of the two nominees,
right.
You know?
And it's like it's one of those things too. Like I really try to rack my brain about credible allegations against Trump, and they always give like that 30 some odd women number, but we never heard about any of them. The only ones we actually heard about were Stormy Daniels, which was consensual sex that he paid for. Like, duh. And that's the thing of trying to make a big deal out of that. Like, of course he hires big oily titted whores. Like, of course he does that. I mean, why are we all shocked at this? Look at who he's been since the 80s. He's been this fucking guy. The other one was E. Jean Carroll, the woman who says rape is very sexy to some people, Anderson Cooper. That went fucking nowhere.
Right.
So what do we really have that's credible against him? And then with the Kavanaugh thing, well, this tweet thread actually sums up exactly how I feel about this.
Right. So this is 3 different people. Yeah, let's take a look. It says, the first person says, I'd like to know why after so many years you decided to bring this up now. He was a senator for years and then vice president for 2 terms. And then Glenn Greenwald replies, would you also like to know why Christine Blasey Ford waited until Brett Kavanaugh was nominated to the Supreme Court to bring up her allegations and did not do so for years before when he was nominated to a seat on the most important appellate court? And then the first person replies, yes. And then Glenn replies, okay, well, at least you're consistent. I wish Democrats were.
And I've voted for Democrat my whole life. And,
Yeah,
that's
same.
exactly how I felt, too. We even talked about on this podcast that I was like, something may have happened to Ford, but it's not enough information for me to, like, believe her. And it's, like, very similar to we said another one of, like, to believe all women. No, I don't. Like, I believe people who have facts, and like I think it's really proving how flimsy the premise was in the first place of what Me Too became. Because Me Too, I think, started as something that had good intentions, but as we've said with tons of things on this podcast, good intentions have road to hell. Blah blah blah. You know the thing.
Whoa.
But it is like, it's one of those things of like when it became about the believe all women narrative was when it completely fucking fell apart. Because would women use sexual assault as a way to gain footing or like take someone down they don't like? Of course they would. Mm-hmm. Of course. And especially when you create the narrative that the man can't even defend himself. Mm-hmm. Like the smear is as good as anything. And then Nia Noni made the comment about Chris Hardwick and how Chris Hardwick didn't do anything wrong, but because like this woman said he was controlling and domineering and abusive, and then he released all these text messages that proved him to be innocent, but he still got fired from all his fucking jobs and never got them back. And so this had to hit a fever pitch, and this is now it, because all of the people that were the hardliner believe all women people, like Alyssa Milano, now look like fucking clowns, because I would say that Tara Reid's allegation is more credible than Kavanaugh's was, Ford's against Kavanaugh. So, but I don't believe, I don't not believe Tara Reid, but I also don't believe her either. It's because they're saying that call into Larry King was a slam dunk, and I'm like, well, number one, how do we know that's her mother on the Larry King phone call? Like, no one has really brought that up of how do we know that's her mother. If any of you know how that's been proven, please let me know. The second one is she just says that she doesn't say anything about inappropriate behavior, but just about how she could never report something about a important senator. That was basically the only context we have from that phone call. And so we have that phone call, and we have, like, I think 2 friends corroborating that she told them about the story.
Called them, yeah.
But she got interviewed a bunch of times and denied that anything ever happened to her.
I know. Yeah.
So to me, it's a wash. I don't really know. Like, do I believe that Finger Poppin' Joe is a real guy? Of course, he's a fucking creep weirdo. But is it good enough to nuke his whole political career? I don't think so. As it wasn't for Kavanaugh either. So, but again, the juicy part of this is that it's just showing how fucking hypocritical this whole movement was.
Right. We've said it many, many times, and it's like they just have no principles.
Yeah.
To like, they believe all women one time. That Nancy Pelosi video, oh, I don't know if you saw it, but it's like back to back her reaction to Tara Reid, and then after that her reaction to Kavanaugh, the Christine Blasey Ford one. And in the Christine Blasey Ford one, she's like, we are working to support and believe like Christine Blasey Ford, and we
think Kamala Harris.
No.
Oh.
Nancy Pelosi.
Oh god, they both did it then.
Oh jeez, of
Sorry,
course
I missed
they
when you
did.
said who it was.
But there's a video of her back to back saying just basically just like, we support her and we believe that women need to be protected and believed. And then like, I think they put the other one in front, the Tara Reid one in front, and she was like, I don't want to answer that question. We want to remain respectful, and like,
Yeah,
it's
please.
like, yeah, just if you put the same amount of energy into this one, we would think of you as a person with more integrity than you actually
Well, what
are.
they're saying now is what they was the truth before, which they're saying that we need due process, which is what we were saying about the Kavanaugh thing. Like, of course you need due process, because or else this sets a fucking dark precedent for men going forward. Because any woman that just wants to climb over you can just say, well, he fucking raped me. And it's like, well, did you? And now I think the conversation needs to shift to, if this shit happens to you, it's going to suck. But hopefully like, the police needs to be trained in being more compassionate to these kinds of claims. You need to go to the authorities immediately.
Yeah.
Because if you take this much time, it's like, how are we ever going to substantiate your claim? It's impossible. Can you read this from Gio?
Tara Reid claims she filed a report in 1993. Oh, that report, I don't know actually if you say it, which Micah Brzezinski asked Joe about on MSNBC the other day. Joe said it should remain closed.
Yeah.
I read that the report is like nowhere to be found.
Yeah, that's the last thing that I heard as well. And I have to give Mika Brzezinski credit. She actually went pretty fucking hard on it. She's like, she explained exactly what Tara Reid's claiming, and she gave like a content warning type thing and have it, and then asked him directly, "Did you do this?" And he's like, "Oh no, it stumbled through is absolutely not," sort of thing. But I mean, I think the optics are so different with him, where it's like, with Joe, you have thousands of pictures of him just being weird and touchy and gross. And so it's like, it's not too far of a stretch of the imagination for the uninitiated to go, something's rotten in Denmark here. Something's really fucking weird. And I don't know. So Jacob says, Democrats make rules for conservatives but don't follow the rules themselves. Not only believe all women. But Jacob, you have to think, Fox News was intensely defending Kavanaugh, and now they love this claim.
Of course,
they're all
the
about
same.
this claim. They're the same fucking people. So I mean, I know they're like the Republican mouthpiece, but still, it's like they're gonna pounce on this. And I think Trump's ad was clever because it wasn't like, because he has enough things where they're saying things about him to where he can't. It's very similar to calling Joe. If you were to like really pounce on Joe being senile, it would alienate seniors because he's old as well. And so he has to be a little careful in how he navigates this if he wants it to be the attack to be effective. But that's really all it is. This claim, the only people that really care about it or are like really getting behind it are the dirtbag left people who were part of the believe all women thing to begin with. And then you have conservatives who now have found their convenient thing to lob against him that is irrefutable in terms of the court of public opinion, which, for the record, the court of public opinion needs to fucking go away. Like Twitter canceling this kind of shit. We're like, are we done with this yet? Do we have to keep doing this over and over and over again?
I don't know.
I mean, do you not think so?
I think more people are online now than ever.
Yeah.
And so it's not going away anytime soon.
Jacob says, I know the Republicans do the same, but the Democrats are way worse. At least some GOP will call out their own. Not one Dem will call out their own. I mean, but Christian Gillibrand is the one who lost Al Franken's job. Christian Gillibrand got Al Franken removed, and Al Franken just had the picture of him pretending to grab the chick's tits when she had a bulletproof vest on. It was ridiculous. So no, they do it to their own as well. And the only reason why she did that was because if she didn't do that, it would make the optics of them going after other Republicans look weird. And so she only did it as career opportunism. So they're all fucking snakes and liars. They don't care about you. They don't care about rape victims. They just care about political points and money that comes with it.
Yeah.
Gio says, I open up YouTube compilations of Biden inappropriately touching girls, mute it, and have Alexa play Sweet Caroline. It's dark, but a good laugh. Keep reading Naomi's comment.
In fairness to Fox, which I loathe, the coverage that I've seen from them seems to be aimed at the hypocrisy over believe all women and not pushing the narrative that Biden did it.
I think because they know it wouldn't be politically expeditious to be pearl clutchers over this. I think that they're in the more opportune position to just call it out for what it is. But again, like my point is that they don't care about what happened to this woman if it did happen. They really don't. And like that faggot Jesse Waters doing his smug, like, can you believe it? Oh, the Democrat. Like, it's just you're all the same. You're all political actors. It's just there's no
of course
there's no sensitivity or caring for this woman. And I don't know her, and I don't really. It's hard for me to feel much about it either. But mostly from the position of I don't believe you until you have like serious proof.
Did you end up pulling up that prediction tweet thread?
No, I can get it though.
Okay. There's this it's from like 2 years ago?
Yeah, I think almost more than 2 years ago.
Which is really crazy. I don't know if you're going to be able to find it so quickly, but
let's see.
And I hope we can, because I would not be able to. Here we go. All right. So here's a series of 3 tweets. First tweet is, my only prediction for 2020, and this is December 4th, 2018. My only prediction for 2020 is that Joe Biden is going to do a vanity run and immediately get Me Too'd. Reply to that tweet, it won't be immediately, it will be just after he clinches the nomination. Another reply to that tweet, a bunch of Dems will blame it on Russia.
Which is coming.
And there will be a bunch of posts from the woke liberal bloggers psychoanalyzing his accusers and sleuthing their connections to some Russian oligarch they read a Wikipedia article about. They already have.
Have they already done Russia?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Because Tara Reid has like this old blog that has like mentions of like a Russian oligarch.
Oh my God. I didn't know that part had been confirmed. I just assumed that was coming.
Because this is connected. She's definitely like a Russian asset. God. Yeah. I mean, this is sort of like underground news. I don't know if it's hit like mainstream media yet, but...
Jacob says, do you know how funny it will be if Trump called Biden a rapist during the debates? Well, if you guys don't remember, when he was debating Hillary, he put all of Bill's accusers in the front row. So, like, Juanita Broderick, and you could just see seething from... And so he already did... That was actually more clever than calling her husband a rapist. It was just to throw her off her game. So... You can bet that if the debates do happen in real form with an audience, which I find to be unlikely, which is kind of another conversation in itself, he will certainly sit this woman in the front row. Although she may reject it because she's had offers to go on Fox and she's refused all of them. So I don't know. Gio says, I think Gillibrand went after Franken to make name for herself before launching election to run for president. Plus, if a senator is removed, the replacement is up to the governor, a Democrat with Franken. There's probably truth to that, but I really think it had to do with them not wanting to seem like hypocrites because and so I think that they had to basically sacrifice one of their own with claims that were so dubious and so ridiculous and so nothing. And think what you will about Franken. I mean, I liked him, but I know plenty of people that are kind of center to right didn't. But at least he was amusing a lot of the time and had decent takes, but. Yeah, they nuked him just over this. But Tom says the scum in the pond is universal, red and blue.
Yeah, no kidding.
Neononi says I'd never victim shame anybody, but modern day Tara Reid looks like every gypsy fortune teller from every movie in the '80s. So I think that she might have put a hex on Biden's brain. Ooh, I like that. That's a good plot line. He certainly has a hex on his brain.
She looks like she does kinesiology.
Yeah, like
that fake. Isn't that fake like
Reiki kind of thing?
It's like checking like your connection to your thoughts.
They like press on your spine and then they move your arm.
They move your arm like a
yeah. And then she what's that channel? The massage channel, the one that was like one of the first ones. I don't
know.
Doesn't matter. It's like one of the first things that kind of started ASMR.
Cosmic Barber.
Cosmic Barber, yeah.
I love the fucking Cosmic Barber.
Jacob Larson says, "Hey, China reported one new case. They flattened the curve." Weren't they blaming it? They were blaming it on some student from New York who.
Right, and obviously we have no reason to believe what China is telling us right now. They have every reason to try to save face.
Right, of course.
So as to make it seem that they don't owe us reparations.
Yeah.
So, like, why should we believe their numbers? You know, it started there, and if it's spreading so quickly here, how on earth are they stopping it from spreading there? You know, there's no reason for their numbers to be so low.
Well, there was some article I was reading yesterday or maybe the day before, but it was talking about how, take this with a grain of salt because it's intelligence agencies, but it's like 17 different intelligence agencies from across the world have declared that the virus did come out of the Wuhan lab.
That's right.
But they're saying that it was accidental and not intentional. And so I'm like, okay, well, that seems very specific that you need to put that framing in there. And I think Whitney Webb today was saying that she thinks that the U.S. intelligence person who put that information out there is Richard Grinnell, which is kind of interesting. She didn't back up why she thought that's who it was, but she also said she's dubious of anything coming out of intelligence agencies, which is on brand for her, of course. She's great. I really love her. She's like conspiracy realm, but like proves it.
Yeah, she has stuff to back up her claims. Yeah.
I love Tara and Marianne Williamson teamed up to hex Biden with Gypsy scarves and crystals.
Yeah, Marianne Williamson has like some meditation practices on YouTube.
Your
just look
penis,
up
your vagina,
your colon. I love the way she says it. But yeah, I actually when I was having particular trouble falling asleep, I actually looked up a meditation by her, and it was pretty nice. Her voice is perfect.
Yeah, she is the best.
It's great. Yeah.
Jacob says the virus is a bioweapon. Yeah, I mean, if it is, it's an effective one because, all the experts are saying that if it killed rapidly, it wouldn't spread the way that it has.
Mm-hmm. I think though it's more effective in shutting down economies. You know,
what I'm curious to see
and that
is
could
that
have
if
been
it
a
does,
goal if it was a weapon.
But if it mutates into something bigger, it's going to be pretty obvious that it's something manufactured. I mean, there's just no. I'm dubious that something this effective, like this contagious at the very least, is organic. It just seems odd to me. But I'm not saying that it's a bioweapon. I'm just saying that it looks a lot like one that would be designed to have the desired effect. Is kind of what I'm saying, based on my bro science.
Yeah. Your science degree, your doctorate
in bro science. Let's see here. Fuck, I've run out of gas.
Yeah, me too. I actually have to pee real bad.
Do you guys have any questions?
Yeah, do you have any questions for us during this awful, amazing time?
Yeah, I heard there were 20 different strains. I've heard that as well. I don't know what that means. Like, I mean, like a lot of them seem to be like not as deadly as others. It seems like we just have one that seems to be the deadliest one that is affecting everybody, and then we seem to have lower tier ones, which are the ones that would be good because then it would have us build some immunity over the next 2 years, and just because this thing is just going to be in our lives for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
Gio
says, do you guys think U.S. or Germany or maybe a combo of countries will seek economic reparations from China?
Germany already has.
Yeah, they've.
So the intensity through which they're proposing that, I'm not really sure, but they were the first one that I saw that actually asked for it, and so I think it's going to be weird because I think that most world leaders are going to be looking towards us, which is going to be so fucking weird, to make that call. But Merkel's kind of her own thing, so who knows? Neononi says if this ends up proving to cause sterility, shit's going to get interesting. Yeah, there has been a few, because like the thing that I've also heard is about it affecting men differently is that it gets, I don't know if this has already been disproven, but I saw enough of it to believe it, which is that it gets stored in the men's testicles. Did you see that at all?
Jesus, no.
Yeah, and it has been causing theoretically some sterility issues.
Huh.
Greg says, we'll see what happens come our typical flu season. That may peel the mask off.
Yeah, we don't really know for sure because we're still kind of in flu season, aren't we? We're entering the summer when it's warmer and like people get the flu less often, but we aren't sure totally if it dies in the sun, if coronavirus dies in the sun.
It seems like it doesn't.
I know, but Dr. Drew said today there's some evidence that it does, so we're not totally sure. but again, yeah, like take that with a grain of salt because we don't know. There's not enough testing that has been done.
Right.
But like as we enter into warmer seasons, maybe it'll change. But of course, then we'll have a second wave in the fall, and it's like things might get better now, and then they'll be 10 times as worse next time. So.
That's what I'm curious about. Is just like how, and again, like we'll put in all this effort to open things back up, but then have to just shut it all back down again, and then kind of into perpetuity. Jacob says, how long until Russia turns on China? They're getting 10K a day over there now, 10K cases. Russia, it would be very not advantageous for Russia to start shit with China. It's like their only ally.
Yeah, no kidding.
So they're probably clandestinely getting some help from China without announcing it. Because they just claim that it doesn't exist in Russia. They're just like, we have a lot of pneumonia cases. It's like all they really upset about it.
Yeah.
Geo says, I saw that about men's testes storage on Daily Mail last week. They also claim there are no verified cases of children spreading it to an adult. Interesting. At least one UK, according to the National Health, or NHS in England. Huh. Yeah, I don't really know. And that's the thing about this. Like, that makes it so peculiar is I feel like it's we sort of know what the flu looks like and how it affects the body. This one seems to have some other weird elements to it.
Yeah.
That it just seems like you think that medical science has advanced to such a degree that they would have this sorted pretty quickly, but how slow it's moving has really sort of not made me lose faith, but really understand the limitations of our abilities. And so I mean, like, it's pretty much proof that a virus is a completely effective killer or economy collapser, depending on what what was the intended purpose of it existing in the first place.
Right.
Or it's just something that happened to come out of Back-Guano. I'm not really sure.
Yononi wants to know where we listen to Dr. Drew. So he has many podcasts. If you go to drdrew.com, I think that's his website. He has all his stuff there. He has all of his stuff listed there, but we're listening, or you sent me today,
it's only on
Dose
YouTube.
of Dr. Drew on
Drew.
YouTube.
Yeah.
Which it's perfect, actually. And like there were no ads in between, so I don't have to like skip every 10 minutes. But so Dr. Drew is on YouTube, on many podcasts. He does the Dr. Drew podcast. He does like Dose of Dr. Drew. He does Dr. Drew After Dark. He does I think one other.
Adam Carolla and Drew, and he does he does a bunch of shit.
So he's all over the place, and because he's so online, and during this time
he said things that people thought, and they got in deep shit, which people got really mad at us for clipping that video out.
Right, and now they're all on our side again. It's
yeah, I know. Because we kind of knew.
Yeah.
But yeah, the last one we listened to, I want to make this recommendation before we head out. He's interviewing this comedian named Duncan Trussell, who has a show on Netflix called Midnight Gospel. I highly, highly recommend it. They take Duncan Trussell's podcast, where he talks about like spirituality, death, and dying, and then they Pendleton Ward, the guy who created Adventure Time, animated the whole thing. And so it's like Pendleton Ward made an adult cartoon about like really adult heavy topics, and it's funny and it's really well done. So Midnight Gospel, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, it's very, very good.
So besides the fact I know you guys love Tim Pool, totally. It's funny. I think the other thing that I noticed about him was he's not willing to commit to any ideas, which also bugs the fuck out of me.
Right, he's like those sponsored Instagram posts.
Yeah,
like
he'll say like, for example, exactly, but he'll say, I don't mean to I think this virus came from China and it's a bioweapon, but I don't mean to sound hyperbolic or anything. And it's like the fucking qualifier. You're not committing to anything you said, and he's a douche. All right, well, that's that.
All right, folks.
Oh wait, this actually is really interesting. Sorry. Did anyone else see the articles out of New York about doctors linking the virus to strokes in people under 30? I think the original article was in the New York Times. Yes, and they have, and so there was an actor in New York who was relatively young who lost his leg as complications to this, and I thought that was bullshit and just a coincidence. But apparently something about this virus causes your blood to clot in really strange ways. So that's another element of it that is fucking freaky, and could be the reason as to why people are getting so fucking sick from this, especially people who are not in good shape, have diabetes, like these kinds of things. But yeah, so I have heard that, Tom, and it's something I'm keeping an eye on, but I don't really have much insight as to why.
Yeah.
All right.
That's about it.
We see you Wednesday.
Yes, see you Wednesday.
Adios.
Goodbye.